decaying. Unfortunately, so do we. The process may take a lot longer than it would in an iron pipe, but the process is exactly the same. And the reason for it is exactly the same: oxygen. Now, if the rust is in your arteries, we call it atherosclerosis. If the rust is in your brain, we will eventually call it Alzheimer's disease. If the rust is in your liver, we'll ultimately call it cirrhosis. If the rust is in your kidney, we'll ultimately call it end-stage renal disease, and lo and behold, if it's in your pancreas, you'll wind up with diabetes. But the central process is rust. Rust on a pipe is equal to inflammation in the body.
Rust, then, is equal to oxidation. Now, define an oxidant for us.
Your body burns oxygen as fuel. It's a wonderful thing. It allows sugar to be metabolized into ATP, again, depending on how much glutathione is present. But as a result of that, if you think about oxygen just outside of the body, and you put a match to it, it ignites. It is a burning substance. And in point of fact, the same thing happens in the body. The obligate result of using oxygen as the fuel to essentially create all of these chemical reactions is that you create burning substances every time a reaction occurs. And that can damage the membrane of a cell. It can damage the function of a cell. If in point of fact you oxidize something, which you have to do because oxygen is the fuel on which all humans perform, the fact of the matter is you create these oxidants which could eat at the cell. And the only way to take care of that is to produce or generate or instill an antioxidant that will stop the rust, will basically stop all these other chemical reactions that are cumulatively deleterious to the function of that cell.
And that's the job of the antioxidant. Tell us about antioxidants.
There are many things that function as antioxidants, and they all have specific or peculiar jobs or particular jobs. The fact of the matter is, not all antioxidants are created equal. And in the hierarchy of antioxidants in the human body, glutathione is the top of the mountain. Many of the things that we think of as antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, and a number of other things, actually work by either protecting glutathione from having to be used in other oxidative reactions that are occurring elsewhere in the body, not inside of the cell, or in fact allowing glutathione to be more prevalent inside of the cell where its primary function of protecting those oxidative reactions or quenching those oxidative reactions during what is called the respiratory chain, the ultimate result of which is the production of ATP and therefore the functionality of that cell. A particular one that has gotten a lot of publicity lately is resveratrol. And resveratrol comes from the skin of red grapes and is supposed to be a very powerful antioxidant. And in fact, it is. It's a powerful antioxidant because it improves the ability of the cell to produce glutathione. Its function is not its own. Its function is feeding in to the paramount antioxidant in the human body, and that is simply glutathione. More glutathione, better off the cell is. More ATP is produced, better functioning that cell does. Less likely to be looked at by the body and told, you're no good anymore, goodbye.
Now, what are some of the negative effects of having all these oxidants running around in my body?
Let me give you a clinical example, because I think it may bring home the point very clearly. A situation in which there is a great deal of oxidants going on is one specifically called congestive heart failure, where because of the inability of the heart to pump appropriately, the amount of blood, the amount of oxygen, the amount of nutrients that get to the cells is reduced, sometimes by a significant amount. As a result of that, the body can't produce the ATP because it's not getting what it needs in order to produce the ATP. Now, if you've ever seen a person or know a person with congestive heart failure, they have a hard time going from the bed to the table. The reason is they don't have the nutrients or the glutathione required to produce the ATP necessary for that cell, whether it be muscle, brain, heart, whatever, to function, and therefore they're out of energy before they even start. We all suffer from that to a minor or greater degree, depending on what our health status is. But the fact of the matter is you need to have that obligately in any cellular reaction in order to get the maximum efficiency out of that cell, or to put it in the vernacular, more bang for the buck every time you start the engine. I mean, again, I'll go back to the analogy of the rusting pipe. Okay, the fact of the matter is, if you protected it from the get-go, it would never rust. If you allow some rust to occur because you don't have appropriate levels of glutathione, which is the anti-rust or the rust protectant for your cells, then in fact, you're going to get a little bit. If you interdict at any time and get your glutathione levels to where they should be, then you're going to stop that process. You have the power to stop it wherever you want it, but it's up to you.
Tell us about where your interest in glutathione came from.
My interest in glutathione came from problems that I saw in patients for which there were no solutions. And the major problem was literally a lack of antioxidants in a variety of patients, and that showed up as what is known as a low uric acid. Now, when I was in oncology and when I was in children pediatric oncology, we knew that if your uric acid went too high, we needed to treat it because otherwise you would get gout. But in fact, I really was not cognizant of what a low uric acid meant. I found that uric acid is the last antioxidant that the body uses when it has nothing else to use. When everything else is gone, it employs that as a not very good, but the only one available mechanism to take care of the oxidation processes that go on in the body.
Now, Dr. Keller, tell me what happened after you discovered this low level of antioxidants.
I asked the question, if that's the last, what's the first? And the first turned out to be glutathione. And so I started looking through the glutathione literature, and I said, this is the most prevalent tri-peptide, or 3 amino acid substance in the human body. And the human body doesn't make mistakes. So there's got to be a reason that this is as prevalent as it is. And as I did more research, it became clear that glutathione is virtually a ubiquitous antioxidant. What do I mean by that? Some antioxidants take care of products of oxygen burning. Some of them take care of products of nitrogen burning. Some of them take care of products of hydroxyl burning. They're all different radicals. This takes care of everything. And it's one of the virtually ubiquitous antioxidants. So then the question was, since I had a variety of patients who suffered from low energy, lack of mental focus, I can't get out of bed in the morning, or if I get out of bed in the morning, by 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go back to bed. This looked like the answer to it. And so the question was how to create a product that would, in fact, deliver the substance to the body. So we went back to the literature, and we looked at all the physiologic processes that are associated with the synthesis of glutathione, and all the constituent things that needed to be there in order for it to be synthesized. And after, I believe it was 18 attempts, we came up with a product that, in the laboratory and in the clinic, improved glutathione levels significantly. That was very important for us, because in the process of this research, we came across data that said that in HIV, which we're privileged to treat a lot of patients with, that glutathione levels are an independent predictor of death in HIV. That is to say, if your glutathione's low, it doesn't matter what drugs you're on, it doesn't matter what your CD4 is, it doesn't matter what your viral load is, you're in trouble. And if your glutathiones are high, then you're going to do well with anything. So it became very important for our patients to improve that. And as we looked at more and more illnesses, we found that glutathione depletion was ubiquitous. So we decided to put a product together. And again, after 18 attempts, we finally did it. And then we ran into a roadblock. And the roadblock was the fact that there was no way to measure glutathione. So we went back, and because I had been in the lab for a long time, we developed our own glutathione test, which actually measured glutathione in lymphocytes. In fact,